Hi, this is Kirk, the Bariatric Carnivore. I want to remind you of something very important. You are not a number. A number is not necessarily a diagnosis of something. It is part of an overall clue. So we have a tendency to think that medicine is an absolute science and that these numbers that we put on different charts and we look at as far as biomarkers are concerned are carved in stone and they are holy writ. And that's not true. I mean, you are a complicated, unique, genetically different thing than anything else on the planet. You are a unique chemical factory. You have had different inputs into your life. You're under different levels of stress. You have eaten different food. You have been subjected to different germs, bacteria, and viruses in the course of your life. And as a result, you are a very unique profile. And to think that a certain number is going to be one size fits all for everybody at all times is just wrong. And here's some things to consider when you look at different numbers. One of them is genetic potential. One of the things that we often forget is that, look, just because genetics loaded the gun doesn't mean you have to pull the trigger through lifestyle. For instance, you may have a long history on both sides of your family tree of a bunch of alcoholics and drunks. But if you choose not to ever drink alcohol, you're not pulling the trigger. In other words, just because you have the propensity to become an alcoholic doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be because of lifestyle choices that you make. If you have a long history of people in your family that are overweight, type 2 diabetics, etc., and you choose to do a very different lifestyle, you don't have to follow in their footsteps. You get to make certain decisions, and that is going to make a difference in how your overall health is. So your genetic predisposition makes a difference. Different cycles in life make a difference. I mean, if you try to make health decisions based on what your health was like and what your blood markers were like as an adolescent, that's going to be very different than when you're over 30. And a lot of stuff stops. Think about blood pressure numbers. If you take your blood pressure right after you finished a very heavy workout, that number is going to be significantly higher than when you were sitting down calm in a rested state. These numbers are going to vary wildly from time to time and the context. If you take blood work for guys and you want to test testosterone levels, if you do that test in the morning, it's going to be significantly higher than it will be at the end of the day. That's just part of the deal. We are cyclical. And we got to realize that it takes time to adopt, particularly to lifestyle changes. For instance, if you decide that you're going to get stronger and you go to the gym today and you lift weights and then you measure your strength tomorrow, you're not going to be stronger. You're probably going to end up weaker because it takes time for your body to become adapted to the new stress that you're putting it under. When you make a dietary change, it's going to take time for you to get results. It just is. If you switch from standard American diet to low carb, you initially are going to lose a lot of water, I call it inflammation, out of your body and the first couple of weeks, but you're also going to have other things that are going to go on during that adoption, like your gut microbiome is going to rebel and there's going to be fights and some of it's going to live, some of it's going to die, and you're probably going to have diarrhea and other stuff that are going to happen during that particular transition time. Adoption takes time, and this is part of the problem that we often forget. When we want to look at, okay, the number says we need to do this, so therefore I'm going to take this pill. Well, let's take, for instance, utilizing a pill for pain, because you've got a highly inflamed body and you've got arthritis, and you take the pill and you get instantaneous results. Perfect. That's fine. That works. Problem solved. But when you're using a diet and lifestyle change, it may take you a few weeks before you're going to get a reduction in inflammation, and may think, oh, it doesn't work because it didn't happen overnight. that's the type of nonsense that we get into. It takes time for your body to adapt and to create the changes that you want to see happen. So you've got to build that into the overall system because, frankly, think about blood glucose. If you eat an ultra-processed food and it spikes your blood sugar, and suddenly you go from having 2 teaspoons of glucose in your bloodstream and you've now got 15 teaspoons in your system. It takes a little while for your pancreas to start secreting the insulin to start pulling that out of the bloodstream, etc. So none of this stuff happens immediately. It just takes time. And if you took your blood sugar at one particular point in time and tried to make a decision as to where your blood sugar was, you're going to get a false number. So never utilize numbers in isolation as the be-all and end-all of your overall health. They are a clue. I mean, go back to the idea of cholesterol. The idea that, my gosh, if your cholesterol is at a certain cut point, that is going to be the death of you. And that's not true. It's got to be looked at in the context of a whole bunch of other markers. I mean, when your triglycerides are very low, your HDL is high, your inflammatory markers are low. Often what that high cholesterol level means is you're what's called a lean mass hyperresponder, which is an idea that these are people that don't have much fat stored in their body and they are utilizing all the fat that they've got, and they need lots of it to keep their body running optimally. So they're going to have high levels of cholesterol. And we don't often look at these cholesterol particles to see if they're the big fluffy ones or if they're the small ones. I mean, when you've got high triglycerides, low HDL cholesterol, and high inflammatory markers, and your blood sugars are high, and you look at all those things in context, and if you looked at your LDL cholesterol, you probably find that they're very, very small, and that creates a problem because when that glucose is really high, you have a peculiar tendency to be very inflamed. And when that happens, you get cracks in the artery walls, and when the artery walls get cracks, they use cholesterol and they form plaques over it, and when you've got the small LDL cholesterol particles, that can create a problem. So, but you can't get that just from a number. You've got to look at the whole context of your overall health and what you're doing and what you're eating. And that's unfortunately what isn't being examined enough. This goes back to an idea that I've been pushing for a long time on how do you know what is true for you? Because frankly, you count. You are unique. You've got very unique genetic potential. You've got very unique life experience. And what's going to work for you may be very different from others. So what you try to do, and the only way to figure out what's going to work for you, and what these, you got numbers and parameters, and you see things that could be potential problems because they're kind of like warning lights on your dashboard, and you're not quite sure what that means. So you've got to dig into it a little bit more, and you start looking around on YouTube as to what that warning light means or what it could mean. And you may discover, yes, this could be the potential problem. And if it makes sense mechanistically, and you kind of look at it and go, yeah, okay, that might be it. And then you start looking at what other people have gone through that have utilized that particular mechanism, that type of lifestyle change to make a difference, and they're having good experiences or having bad experiences, then you may want to try it out for yourself. And try to keep it down to one variable at a time. And this is how we determine what's going to be working for you. And you can utilize a physician as a guide and all that, but realize that too many of them are so wrapped up in their computer algorithms that they're not looking at the bigger picture when it comes to your overall health. They're looking at a particular marker, and almost, universally, they're always fixated on cholesterol for some dang reason. But, they're not looking at the inflammatory markers. They're not looking at your triglyceride levels and other things that are so darn important as indicators of your overall metabolic health. And that's creating a problem. So realize that in this fight for our health, we are all alone in this, but we can all be alone in this together, and we can keep sharing information to help us realize that the numbers are clues, they're warning lights, but they're not the be-all and end-all. They are not diagnoses in and of themselves. Now, that's enough for my rant on the numbers problem. Let me give you some good news and some interesting stuff that I learned about band training and getting stronger. One of the things that I've not done really for the last 5 years is gone to the gym, and I haven't lifted weights, and as a result, I don't have strong numbers to see if what I'm doing with bands is actually making me stronger or not. Well, when I was traveling, they gave me at the hotel, they said, hey, if you want to, you can go to this really nice gym chain. So I went up to that gym and got a chance to play around with weights for the first time. So I had some very objective numbers to actually go and work out with. And so I went over there and I tried it out, and I found something really cool. I'm about 25% stronger now than I was 5 years ago. So in other words, at 61, I'm 25% stronger than I was in my mid-50s. And all I've been utilizing since then is bands at home, which proved to me something, from my experience now, I can show that, hey, my HIIT training, utilizing bands, is doing what I want it to do. It is making me stronger, and I'm not getting injured. And that's a good thing to learn every now and then, to just test out the hypothesis. So I'm glad to know that what I'm doing is actually working through some objective measures. And that's what you got to do. It is all about you at the end of the day. You are the one who's ultimately got to make your own health decisions about what works best for you, not what the numbers and the algorithms say. This is Kirk, the Bariatric Carnivore. I try to put out a couple messages each week. If you like this message, if you like this channel, please hit the like, subscribe, share it with other like-minded people. That goes a long way to help the channel grow and help get this message to more people. I will talk to you again soon.